Today, we're going to dive into a really remarkable piece of medical tech that acts like a silent protector for millions of people. It's called the Implantable Cardioverter Defibrillator, or ICD for short.
I mean, just think about that for a second. What if you had a tiny, smart device inside your chest, always on watch, ready to jump in at the most critical moment possible? Well, that's not science fiction anymore. That's exactly what an ICD is. It's less like a machine and more like a personal guardian for your heart.
So why would somebody even need a guardian like this? Well, to get that, we first have to understand the problem it's built to solve, which is basically the risk of a dangerous electrical storm brewing inside the heart.
Here's an easy way to think about it. Your heart's electrical system is a lot like the wiring in your house. You know, when everything's working right, you flip a switch, the lights come on, and it all runs smoothly. Your heart is exactly the same. It needs those smooth, regular electrical signals to beat properly and keep blood pumping.
But you know, sometimes that wiring can just go haywire. In medical terms, that's called a ventricular arrhythmia. It's when the heart's lower chambers, the ventricles, start beating way too fast or just chaotically. Sticking with our analogy, it's a major short circuit. And that's a huge problem because it can stop blood from moving through your body and lead to sudden cardiac arrest.
And to fix a dangerous short circuit like that, you need a very, very specific kind of tool. And that is exactly where the ICD comes into play as this direct, life-saving solution. Now, a question I hear all the time is, wait, isn't that just a pacemaker? And the answer is, not quite. See, a pacemaker's main job is to fix a heart that's beating too slowly. An ICD, on the other hand, is designed for the opposite problem, a heart beating dangerously fast. Now, an ICD can do the job of a pacemaker, but its truly unique, life-saving feature is its ability to deliver a powerful shock to reset that chaotic rhythm.
So, who actually gets one? Well, doctors typically recommend an ICD for people who are at a high risk. This usually includes people who've already survived a sudden cardiac arrest, patients who have a history of these dangerous arrhythmias, some people with genetic conditions that put them at risk, or those whose heart muscle has been weakened, which means it's not pumping blood very efficiently.
Okay, so let's pop the hood and take a look at the technology itself. How does this little device actually do its job once it's inside your body?
It's actually a pretty elegant three-step process. First, it monitors. The ICD is literally watching your heart's rhythm 24/7, never takes a break. Second, it detects. The second a dangerous rhythm starts, it recognizes the problem instantly. And third, it treats. The device automatically, on its own, delivers the right therapy to get your heart back to a normal rhythm.
Now, there are two main types of ICDs you should know about. The traditional one is called a Transvenous ICD, and it has these little wires called leads that are threaded through a vein so they actually sit inside the heart muscle. But then there's the Subcutaneous ICD, or S-ICD, which is a bit different. Its leads are placed under the skin, right next to the heart, but not actually touching it or inside the blood vessels. The big advantage there, it can help reduce the risk of certain long-term complications with leads and blood vessels.
So that's the tech, but what does it actually, feel like to live with one? This is such a crucial part of the story, the real human side of it all.
You know, most people think an ICD is all about that big, dramatic shock. But honestly, its first line of defense is way more subtle. It's something called Anti-Tachycardia pacing, or ATP. What the device does is send out a quick burst of tiny, fast, and completely painless electrical pulses. It's trying to gently nudge the heart back into a normal rhythm. And a lot of the time, this works perfectly, and the person doesn't feel a single thing.
So just how common is getting a shock? Well, it's probably a lot less frequent than you'd imagine. Take a look at this. In the first few years after getting an ICD, for every 10 patients, only about 2 or 3 will actually receive a shock. The other 7 or 8 won't. And that's usually because that ATP we just talked about often fixes the problem before a big shock is even needed.
But what if a shock is necessary? What does that feel like? Well, people who have experienced it often describe it as a sudden, powerful kick to the chest. And yeah, it's jarring, for sure, but it's over in a flash. And that jolt means one incredibly important thing. The device just did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it very likely just saved your life.
All right, let's zoom out now and look at the bigger picture. We're talking about the global impact of this technology and what daily life really looks like for someone who has an ICD.
The impact here is just staggering. I want you to think about this number for a second. It's estimated that over 3 million people worldwide are living with an ICD right now. That is an incredible number of lives being protected by this little guardian in their chest, giving them and their families this invaluable peace of mind.
And for those millions of people, life, for the most part, gets back to normal. The battery in the device lasts a good long while, usually somewhere between 7 and 10 years. Checkups have gotten super convenient. A lot of them are done remotely, right from your own home. And most people get back to their jobs, their hobbies, their lives, all with this amazing confidence that comes from knowing you're protected 24/7.
So, when you step back and look at it, the ICD is truly a modern medical marvel. It's a smart, responsive bodyguard that protects the heart from its own most dangerous failures, and it acts in an instant to prevent a tragedy. It really makes you wonder, right? If this is what today's technology can do, what's just around the corner? What's the next generation of smart, life-saving implants going to be able to do?